Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel and to all things language, culture, and travel. My name is Michaela if you're new here. If you're not, glad to have you back. Today I decided to film outside and I think I will realize whether or not that was a good idea probably halfway through filming this video. The weather in Ohio is quite unpredictable and I have been hearing sirens, but it's a nice change of scenery for me. And today I'm getting ready to wrap up my Morocco series. I have 2, maybe 3 more videos planned, and this one is all about Marrakech. Now, to be honest, a lot of the things I'm going to tell you about Marrakech you can do all over Morocco, and Marrakech is probably my least favorite Moroccan city, especially when it comes to the Medina. And if you watched my last video, then you know that Medina is just the Arabic word for city and usually refers to the city center. Marrakech's Medina is so busy and chaotic, and that's why I absolutely dread it. But there are some that are a lot less chaotic, such as Meknès and Fez as well. I also encourage you to go outside of your comfort zone and outside of the tourist cities and spend some time with Moroccan families or with Moroccans in smaller cities to get the real idea of what Morocco looks like. Don't just come and visit and be an observer and walk away. Morocco has so much to offer everyone who comes to visit. Now, that being said, Marrakech is arguably the most famous city in Morocco, and it is not the capital city, at least not anymore. But it used to be, which is what makes Marrakech one of Morocco's imperial cities, along with Fez, Meknès, and Rabat. Although chaotic, Marrakech is a beautiful red city, so let's talk about the things to do there. The first thing to do is to visit Joja. Nestled in the city is a beautiful botanical garden, cafe, and museum. The Jardin Majorelle was created by a French Orientalist named Jacques Majorelle in 1947. It was his residence until the 1980s when Yves Saint Laurent and Pierre Berger purchased and restored it. Grab your camera and wear something that will allow you to pop against the blue backdrop of the gardens. Be prepared to stand in line unless you buy your tickets in advance. We stood in line for roughly 15 to 20 minutes and we were completely unshaded and under the pure Moroccan sun, so make sure that you take some water. I did pay 120 dirhams for my ticket, but if you're a student and you have a student ID, I think that price is cut in half. I thought it was a little bit pricey for the things that we saw, but it is very beautiful and picturesque, and I definitely recommend giving it a visit. The next thing to do is about accommodation. Make sure you stay in a riad. So when you look at pictures in Morocco, you always see the beautiful, colorful tiles and mandalas and fountains that are in these beautiful riads. We stayed at a riad in the center of the Medina. We had a fabulous host and a fabulous room. And riad is just a fancy term for the place where the richest people in Morocco used to live. I did make a video about where to stay in Morocco, so go ahead and give that a watch if you want the full tour of our riad. But you can also see a tour of some of the other accommodations that we stayed in while we were in Morocco, including Airbnbs and a hotel. My favorite by far, however, was the riad. The next thing to do in Marrakech is to go to Jemaa el-Fna. I'm sure that if you've ever seen a picture of Morocco, then you've seen a picture of this most famous square. The 2 words that I use to describe Jemaa el-Fna is sensory overload. This is the place that I refer to as chaotic. You'll find performers, snake charmers, monkeys, henna, and a bunch of people selling fruit juice. If you're an introvert like me, you're not going to want to spend too much time in the square, but luckily you can just head down into the winding streets of the Medinas and just try to find some souvenirs at the little shops. The next thing to do in Marrakech is to visit Al-Koutoubia. Just a short walk from Jemaa el-Fna is the Koutoubia Mosque. This version of the mosque was built in 1158 and has a beautiful square as well as gardens just next to it to visit. Just a note about mosques. In a lot of places, non-Muslims are not allowed to enter mosques, so just keep that in mind. I have had the privilege of entering a couple of mosques here in the United States and also in Palestine, so just be sure to ask whoever you're accompanied by to know about the regulations before entering a mosque, how much you should cover, and you'll probably be asked to take off your shoes. The next thing to do in Marrakech is to catch a sunset at a restaurant with a rooftop. The best sunsets in the world, in my opinion, are in Morocco. So just head to a restaurant with a nice view of Jemaa el-Fna or the Medina and just people watch and enjoy the sunset. So notable restaurants for a rooftop vibe are going to be Café des Épices and Nomad. I'm sure there are lots more. The next thing to do in Marrakech is to find the king tributes. Hidden in the winding streets of the Medina is a tribute to Morocco's king. Honestly, my footage doesn't even begin to show how many things there are in tribute to the king in this shrine. I have no other word for it. Honestly, you just have to see it for yourself. And honestly, in case you didn't know, Morocco's motto is Allah, Watan, Malik, which means God, country, and king. Last but not least, my favorite thing to do, of course, is always around food. So eat street food while you're in Marrakech. Eat street food while you're all around in Morocco. So Morocco has a ton of street food, but a couple of my favorites are sphinge, which is basically like a donut, and the grilled street corn. But you can also find snail soup, and prickly pear, just to name a couple more. Just make sure to keep some spare change handy because they're usually not too expensive. My sphinge was just 2 dirhams, and I think actually in smaller cities they're only 1 dirham. So just keep some change handy so that you can try all of the street food in Morocco. And as I mentioned, try to branch outside of Marrakech. You'd be actually surprised how many conversations you can have with Moroccans. They tend to speak a lot of languages. Not all, but you might be surprised how many can speak English and French and Spanish, maybe even German. And just try to have a local experience as well. I hope you stick around for the next video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that transportation video about Morocco. And if you just enjoy learning about Morocco, and if you just enjoy travel content, then just go ahead and subscribe so that you can get more from me. In case you didn't know, I'm back in Ohio and I have a lot of content planned for all of the major cities around Ohio, and I think you guys are really gonna enjoy it. So thanks so much for sticking with me to the end, and I'll see you in my next video.